The Middle East, 3 kilometers southeast of central Manama, Bahrain. 6 o'clock in the evening, 38,000 U.S. troops spread across 13 U.S. bases in the region were put on immediate alert as Iranian forces launched Truthful Promise 4 and aimed missiles toward bases in Bahrain, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. What was at stake was simple: whether this stays limited or turns into a wider regional war. Iran said the strikes were retaliation. The trigger, according to multiple reports, was joint U.S. Israel airstrikes that hit targets in Iran earlier the same day. Iran's message was that U.S. and Israeli bases, facilities, and assets in the region are now considered targets if attacks on Iran continue. Here is what the public reporting says happened first. Iranian forces said they targeted the command of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet in Bahrain. Video and images showed large plumes of black smoke near the area, but the full level of damage was not confirmed in the early reporting. Bahrain confirmed an attack occurred against sites in the kingdom and called it a violation of sovereignty. At 6:12 in the evening, the key question became interception. Qatar's defense ministry said it intercepted missiles that appeared to be targeting Al Udeid Air Base near Doha, which is widely described as the largest U.S. base in the region. The UAE, Jordan, and Kuwait also said they intercepted missiles fired toward them. That means the story is not only about launches, it is also about air defense performance in real time. At 6:18 in the evening, reports also described at least 1 death in the United Arab Emirates from shrapnel tied to an Iranian missile attack. That one detail matters because once civilians die, pressure rises fast on every government involved. Even if most missiles are intercepted, debris still falls. Debris still kills. By 6:25 in the evening, Iran's top messaging shifted from "we struck" to "we still have more." One line getting repeated across social media came from Iranian state TV reporting, quoted by Reuters in a big newspaper agency write-up. A senior IRGC advisor claimed Iran had only fired scrap missiles till now, and warned that unforeseen weapons could be unveiled if escalation continues. That threat is part of the psychological fight: fear, uncertainty, and pressure on decision makers. At 6:30 in the evening, you need to separate 3 things. 1. What Iran says it targeted. 2. What countries say they intercepted. 3. What damage is actually confirmed on the ground. Early reports can be wrong. Some videos are real, some are old, and some are mislabeled. The smoke over Bahrain is a visual signal, but it is not a full battle damage report. 2 minutes into this breakdown, if you want fast updates with clear sourcing and no nonsense, hit subscribe right now. This story is moving hour by hour, and you don't want to miss the next verified update. At 6:38 in the evening, let's talk about the base list being reported. One major summary describes strikes or alerts tied to multiple locations: Al Udeid in Qatar, a U.S. naval facility in Bahrain, and reports or alerts tied to Iraq, Jordan, and Kuwait. Different outlets list different sites, and some include places where sirens and explosions were reported nearby, not necessarily direct hits on base infrastructure. Always watch the wording. Targeting, toward, intercepted, and hit do not mean the same thing. At 6:45 in the evening, the bigger strategic point is this. The U.S. has a large footprint across the region, and BBC reporting put the normal troop level in the region at about 30,000 to 40,000 across roughly 13 bases. That means almost any missile wave creates multi-country alerts. It also means every host nation must decide how far it will go in defense and what response it will allow from its soil. At 6:52 in the evening, Truthful Promise 4 is also part of a pattern. Multiple reports describe Iran using True Promise naming to signal that retaliation is not just a threat, it's branding, and it is meant to shape public expectations inside and outside Iran. When a name becomes a series, it becomes a ladder of escalation. That ladder is hard to climb down from. At 7 o'clock in the evening, the next fear is miscalculation, a missile that lands off target, a defensive interceptor that fails, a fuel tank that catches fire, a radar site that goes dark. Any one of these can force a bigger response, even if leaders privately want to limit. That is why you see urgent statements, denials, and claims happening at the same time. At 7:08 in the evening, there was also a second battlefield: information. The screenshot you sent, branded with a TOI-style graphic, pushes the scrap missiles claim and the unforeseen weapons warning. That is designed to make people believe the worst is still coming. Whether that is true or not, the goal is to influence the next move from Washington, Tel Aviv, and every capital hosting a U.S. base. At 7:15 in the evening, here is what viewers should watch next, in simple terms. Watch for confirmed damage reports from Bahrain, Qatar, and the UAE. Watch for any official U.S. statement that shifts from assessing to responding. Watch for flight disruptions and base lockdowns, because those are often the first visible signs of how serious the threat is. And watch for whether more launches happen in waves, because waves mean planning, stockpiles, and intent to continue. At 7:20 in the evening, if this breakdown helped you understand the situation faster, hit like and share this video with 2 friends. In fast-moving conflicts, the most valuable thing is clear, verified information before rumors take over. Final accounting as publicly reported so far. Iran's Revolutionary Guard said Truthful Promise 4 targeted U.S. Fifth Fleet facilities in Bahrain and bases in Qatar and the UAE, while multiple countries said missiles were intercepted. Early reporting included at least 1 death in the UAE from shrapnel, and the extent of confirmed damage at the Bahrain naval facility area was not fully clear in initial reports. Iran's messaging included a claim that earlier missiles were scrap and a warning about unforeseen weapons, while the region's air defenses and political decisions became the real test in the hours that followed. Iranian forces believed the threat of escalation alone could shape the battlefield. What actually happened is that interceptions, alerts, and real-world damage reports began deciding the next steps. Sometimes the strongest warning is not enough when events move faster than diplomacy.